I can see, Steve, that the Prime Minister Barak has got a better eyesight.
No, I just wanted to give him a chance to answer two at a time. Before,
sure, sorry.
But go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope, Mr. Barak, you'll accept this as a question coming from a friend of Israel who actually, and I'll be very honest with you, I genuinely worry about Israel's long-term future. And I'll tell you why. Because I think the long-term correlation of forces is working against Israel. American power globally has peaked, not in absolute terms, but in relative terms, and can only go down. The power of the Islamic world has troughed and can only go up. And the combination of these two forces leads to a kind of pincer movement against Israel's long-term interests. And so if you accept that as the logic of the future, would you consider that maybe it is best to try an imperfect solution today rather than a perfect solution tomorrow, because tomorrow there may not be a perfect solution? And if that's the case, would you also consider doing something out of the box, like attempting a kind of unilateral withdrawal from all Palestinian territories? Because then you remove the poison that is being used in the international system that keeps saying the Palestinians are the only people under foreign occupation. If you destroy that completely and say, now you Palestinians, you have your own territory, you're on your own, then Israel is in a very profound way liberated from a huge burden by doing that.
Thank you.
Let's try to answer. First of all, we see the Palestinian going to the Security Council and the General Assembly as a unilateral step that basically try to bypass the natural road, which is to enter into the room without precondition and try to have a breakthrough. Because it looks as it's clear that the zeitgeist, the atmosphere in the world turned gradually closer to the Palestinian position in the last years, and it's clear to us that they can reach a majority, at least a numerical majority in the General Assembly, and it might just reinforce the sense that they can come to the negotiating table and try to dictate phrases that were collected from these fora about the nature of solution, rather than to sit down and understand that no side can get out of the room with everything you dreamed of, but there is a need for painful decisions on both sides. We just prefer direct negotiations. The road to the General Assembly is always open to the Palestinians. Another element is that we feel that something had been changed during the 10 years since we negotiated with President Clinton and Arafat. One element is that, the most important element is the fact that probably two. One is that the atmosphere is more promising in the West Bank. But on the other hand, that at the time with Arafat, however tough character tough, I don't know. I used to say that if he looks like a terrorist, walks like a terrorist, quacks like a terrorist, probably he's a terrorist. And he got the Nobel Peace Prize as a down payment for something. And I always used to use the metaphor that we have to behave like two leaders who are coming to save a 2 units townhouse from a fire. And you never know if the great fireman on the other side, with already the medals from the whole world for excellence in fire extinguishing, does not carry, he's not a pyroman, he doesn't carry some gasoline and matches in his. So that was the kind of feeling on our side. We feel that we have to act together with them, and here comes the fact that they lost control of Gaza. So with Arafat, you can't at least, if he can overcome his inhibitions, you can have a peace agreement that the other day goes into implementation. You go to the other side of the table and start to implement. Probably within 3 years, 4 years, you have a peace. Now, the maximum we can expect is something that will be put on the shelf because he lost control of his people in Gaza. And we do not want to see something artificial, some hollow wrapping that brings a government of technocrats and say, hey, it's okay with the Hamas, don't look at them, Abu Mazen and Fayyad are running the show. If they create any kind of unity with Hamas, we expect at the minimum that the Hamas will be able to accept the rules of the quartet, namely recognizing Israel, putting behind terror, and accepting all previous agreements. And we had to dismantle the terror machines, the missiles.
That's the first question.
Yeah, and last...
We're running out of time.
Yeah,
so,
okay, so I will try very fast to answer the other. I cannot answer, honestly, in this public Chris question, so I will go beyond it. And I will answer Professor Mohabani's question. I think there is certain truth in it, but let me tell you the following. 20 years ago, I was a commander of the armed forces under Rabin as a prime minister, and I told in a public appearance that we have an interest for our security to come to an agreement, peaceful agreement, with all our neighbors before Iran tears nuclear. It was 92, before Iran tears nuclear, and a wave of Muslim fundamentalist terror will overwhelm the whole Arab world. I was not a kind of prophet, but it was clear even then. And we tried. Rabin tried, Peres tried, Netanyahu on his way tried in his first term. I've tried very kind of, I don't want to say courageously, but ready to go to the farthest extent to do it. Olmert tried, and until now we could not succeed. Now, in the meantime, we pulled out from all the area of Lebanon just to find there 45,000 rockets and missiles. We pulled out from every square inch of Gaza to find their Hamas government. So some Israelis, in the best of their minds, sense, don't lose your senses. You are playing with something too abstract. You might try something totally unilateral if this is the only reason that we are holding something of their dream. If this is the only reason for the whole conflict, probably by a unilateral gesture you can solve it, kind of take the steam out of it. But if the real intention is to see Israel out of the map and out of the region, that would not help. It will just accelerate the process. So that's the reason why so many young Israelis, in a way that our generation doesn't fully come to grip with, demand that, first of all, the Palestinian movement will say loud and clear, we want this and that from Israel, but we recognize their right to be there as a neighbor, as a legitimate state within a Jewish democratic state within the region, and we are ready, once an agreement is signed, to make it sealed by the paragraph saying, and this agreement, as had been mutually agreed, is the end of conflict and end of any mutual claims. Thank you.
Well, I'm sorry, I promised to keep to time, and our time is up. This is a man of great courage. He's proved it in the past. I'm hopeful many people here that you and your government will muster more of it. But I just want to thank you for your patience and the discussion today.
Thank you.